to another edition back from break of Props to Consider and Then Maybe Bet. I am your host, the Paragon of Virtue, Lou Betya, here for UFC 287, Adesanya versus Pereira 2, 4, whatever you want to call it. Nice comeback week 2 weeks ago with props, but that's the past. I'm on to the future. I have two awesome guests, one of whom I wanted to make it up. He's the first repeat guest, and that would be Mr. Brady. And I wanted to make it up to him because the last time he was on the show, I gave him a Chase Sherman card, and now I gave him a pay-per-view, and he also has a Chase Sherman card.
I guess I'm just the Chase Sherman whisperer, right?
You're the Chase whisperer. And making his debut on the channel, one of my favorite people to talk to. He no-sold me calling him Vinny Russo's favorite guy from his pro wrestling days. One of my favorites in the community, Mr. Luke Lampe, sparring with reality betting. Luke, I know you're under the weather. I really appreciate you taking time out for the show. Also, I threaten you with violence. That's probably helping.
Yeah, like you said, I'm kind of riding the struggle bus right now, but it's a pay-per-view card. I can't bail on the boys. We got some props to talk about, so gonna power through here.
And all of us wearing hats was plus 210. If
Let's
anybody
go.
had that,
Gotcha.
you know, like Luke wearing a hat's always like minus 500. My hair is shit, so mine's. But Brady's always like, you know, the prop one. Now, before we get started, I'm just gonna, because we're gonna be talking about a Chase Sherman card, because I care about Brady, Weezy, and Monk, I'm just gonna put this up on the screen so that everybody knows that I'm the known crazy person, and don't listen to me under any circumstances. Okay. You know what? I'll just do it for real when we get to the Sherman fight. I think that makes sense. All right. Enough ballyhoo, as the birthday boy Mike's MMA picks would say. Happy birthday to my friend Mike's MMA picks. If you've never watched the show before, it's real simple. We're going to each give about 3-4 props on the card itself. And when I say props, I'm not talking like under 2.5 minus 150. I'm talking about crazy stuff, like we're looking for lunacy bets that actually have a chance, like the Nate Landwehr round 2 sub given out on this show 2 weeks ago. And then at the end, we will talk about the main event. We will end with a Yam Bag special. Brady knows what that's all about, and I'm excited to hear Luke, one of the best cappers in the space, break down why he thinks a ball shot is going to happen. It's a very different kind of show if you've never watched it. Brady, I'm going to start with you. What is the first prop you have to consider? And then maybe bet. And if you are watching, please hit the like button and subscribe to the MMA Engine channel.
So I'm going to go with the one with the worst odds here. Right off the bat, just get it out of the way. It's the Chris Curtis, Kelvin Gastelum, the fight to end in split decision. It opened up plus 450. It's actually now plus 425. So money's coming in on that split decision prop. It's a fight that is heavily favored to go the distance, around minus 210, minus 220 to do so. I think it's going to be very close. It's a fight that I personally think can go either way. The judges suck. They don't know what they're watching, so they're probably going to screw it up. I think a split is pretty likely here. So 425, I took the shot. Not the craziest prop in the world, but I think it has a good chance of hitting there.
I like it. Luke, do you have any props on that fight at all?
I do not, but I guess like everybody else, I kind of project that one to go the distance at a decent clip. Honestly, I think the over is a decent parlay leg in that fight.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but I may be talking about that fight a little later. That's all I have to say about that. Luke, what is the first prop you have to consider and then probably bet?
So I'm going to go with like my smallest odds to start. I'm going to go with GM3 submission plus 360. Maybe I guess kind of a cop out a little bit, but I mean, the reality is this. I mean, this is how the guy wins like pretty much all of his fights. You know, he's earned, I think, most submissions in the division. He's definitely up there overall within the UFC. Pfeiffer obviously can wrestle. He can grapple. He's had some success there in the past, but we know that GM3 can submit anybody, and you cannot make small mistakes against Gerald Meerschaert. And that's what I think is also interesting. I think potentially with the ego of Pfeiffer, I think Pfeiffer actually might wrestle here. And I think that would be a gigantic fucking mistake for him personally. So we'll see. GM3 plus 360 by sub. He's live to win and beat pretty much anybody, you know, it's kind of just rinse and repeat. Play GM3 sub for days. You're gonna come out on top.
Let me ask you a question.
The last thing I want to note too, Pfeiffer got submitted by Jonathan Patty, who sucks, who is a really bad fighter. I'm just saying that right now. And it was a guillotine. We know Gerald loves his guillotines, right? It wasn't that long ago. So all I'm saying is Jonathan Patty can guillotine this dude. Gerald can too. Plus 360 GM3 sub. Sign me up.
Do you think he has any decision equity in this fight?
No.
Or is it just
GM3?
purely sub or bust?
Gerald?
Yeah.
He has kind of rope-a-doped his way, in a couple of these fights. Like even in the Silva fight, I mean, generally, I think the guy has 2 decision wins in like 30-something pro. I mean, so meritocratically, not really, but I mean, we have seen extended Meerschaert fights where he's like winning and then finishes somebody later. So it's not as if I also think if Meerschaert does win and does finish, I think it actually probably is in like 2-3, where I think Pfeiffer's like probably KO1 type of scenario. So I think the fight could extend. I don't think it's impossible. I think it's unlikely, but
under 2.5 is minus 350. Fight doesn't go minus 500. The last I checked. I don't know if that's super playable at all. All right, enough screwing around. Let's talk about Chase Sherman. I'm bringing it up just for the people watching at home. So there's the same game parlay I'm going to do once they give me all the odds, but I'm going to give you Chase Sherman in over 1.5 rounds at plus 525 the last I looked. I'll say this right now, whether you agree with the pick or not, Sherman ain't winning by first round KO here. So I think the over 1.5 probably pretty safe. I don't love what I've seen from Carl Williams. I mean, Jimmy Lawson is just not even allowed at Penn State anymore. So, like, we don't even talk about that. He's not even allowed on campus. Bo Nickel has banned him from showing up at Penn State's campus. Breshke is so bad. I mean, he did nothing. Williams was gassed, throwing 40 strikes in that fight. This is a really quick turnaround against a guy who is by easily the biggest guy that has ever faced. I mean, Sherman, look, we don't have to talk about Sherman's skill set, but he's a natural heavyweight. He's a big dude. Is he going to be easy to take down at first? Yeah, but if Williams isn't a big finisher, this thing's going to have to start on the feet in the second. We saw Williams starting to gas. We saw his hands on his knees. I think Sherman's a better striker. I think Sherman could start picking him apart. The same game parlay I want to do. I don't want to spoil anything for later, but Williams is going to take down in the first. Over 5.5 minutes, and Sherman to win is probably going to be like plus 1,000 odds. So I'm never betting Williams in this spot. If you want to have some lunch money fun, I think Sherman. I know people like the Sherman round 3 KO, but I kind of like. Do you guys even want to talk about that fight at all, or do we just move on?
Not yet. I don't.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Actually, one of my 4 is actually the Sherman round 3 KO.
Yes.
Wow.
Is plus 2,800. Like, I think you kind of talked about it pretty well. I do obviously think the most likely outcome is Williams just goes out there and probably lays on him for 15 minutes. But if Sherman can stand up, he does throw a lot of strikes. Calf kicks are kind of interesting to me in this fight as well. Williams is a wrestler. He stands very heavy on those lead legs. We know that guys can compromise dudes with kicks in like 2 to 3 kicks sometimes. Like, so if Sherman can create some semblance of space or something like that, get off on some calf kicks, start punching him in the face, hit him with some jabs. Both guys are tired. It turns sloppy. Also have to keep in mind, Williams is taking this fight on less than a week's notice. He got, tired in his last fight too. Like, Sherman is not exactly Lance Armstrong as well. And who, definitely gas out here too. But like, Williams is a big boy, man. He's a big boy at heavyweight. A week's notice. He just won his debut, a month ago. Now that he's at heavyweight, he doesn't have to cut weight. He probably went out there and got lit in Vegas. He's probably been eating Cheetos the last 2 to 3 weeks, probably not doing much training. And I'm just saying, if he comes out here and has a good first round, which I anticipate him to, but then gasses after that, and this fight turns sloppy and shitty, wouldn't be shocking. So give me round 3 Sherman KO.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to borrow money from Brady for that fight. I don't know if I can bet my own money on it, but I can bet Brady's.
Yeah,
for sure. So,
it's bad.
all right, Brady, what do you got next for us? I
wanna-
know you have some crazy stuff coming. I don't know what it is. You
Yeah,
alluded to some nonsense coming.
yeah, not yet. I want to circle back to the Pfeiffer fight. Yeah, these odds aren't the best again, but I'm going to go with 2 here. I'm going to sprinkle both Joe Pfeiffer KO1 plus 300 and then Joe Pfeiffer KO2 plus 650. This is more a narrative than anything. Well, first off, I think Pfeiffer wins this fight by knockout, but I was listening to his podcast and this guy bet his life that he was going to get the knockout. He literally bet his life and he was like, if I don't get this knockout, somebody's going to kill me or something like that. So he's confident enough to bet his life. So I'm willing to take a shot. And, what he was talking about was he's going to go out there, he's going to pressure Gerald, and he's going to knock him out. But yeah, if this fight hits the mat, it's like it's probably going to be over by submission on the Mearshot side. But yeah, I mean, the guy's confident enough to bet his life. So I'm gonna sprinkle those KO props there. Not the best numbers, like I said, but 300, 650. Hoping it comes in that second round, but I think it probably comes in the first.
Betting your life is baller. That is also not recommended, but
yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. He might lose his life if he loses this fight. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's not going to tap. He's just going to pass out. Like if he gets done this. All right. So we got 2 for Luke. We got 2 for Brady. All right. Let's go to a guy I don't think I've ever been right about, but we're gonna just keep going it. See, even Jason knows. Targeting fighters who bet their life is definitely a plus EV prop. Like have great. I love the fans on the show. I am gonna play Steve Garcia and under 1.5 rounds at plus 600.
Oh wow.
There's 2 there's 2 reasons I like this. Number 1, Shailen's been a very slow starter in his UFC career. There's the Soriano fight. I mean, Soriano's a gas bag, but he looked awful in the first round there. I'm not gonna talk about the first round he just had. I don't think I need to address the one against Minner, but even against TJ Brown, he looked kind of sluggish in the first round, and then TJ did TJ Brown things, and Shailen took over that fight. Garcia is not a slow starter, and if you have to go back to his first fight in Bellator in 2013 to find the last time he won by finish that went over the 7.5-minute mark. Every time he's getting a finish, it's the first round. I know he took 6 minutes to finish Sideshow Bob Ontiveros, but he still got it done. And Garcia, if this thing hits the 3rd round, your bet's toast. I know there's people playing Garcia scorecards, no bet. I love that look too. I do think he has the bulk of the finishing equity here. Shailen just feels like if it gets to the 3rd round, he's going to be happy to just win the round with control time. So Garcia and under 1.5 plus 600. And this bet is already in for me. So this isn't to consider. This is and then bet. It's at that stage of the process. So, all right, we got 2 each. I don't know. Do you guys have anything to say about that fight or?
I was maybe thinking like a shot on Garcia's sub, but I didn't like the odds. It's just because Shalian's been submitted like 6 times, but it's only I think plus 1,000 or something. So I'm probably gonna pass on that. But yeah, I like your look a lot. Under 1.5 and Garcia plus 600. Like I feel like that's his win
money line. It feels like it's his money line. So
yeah, I don't see him winning a decision in that one.
Luke, what gems do you have to add to this world beater affair between Steve Garcia and Shailen Erdenbeke?
So no props for me, but I did bet the Garcia money line at plus 175. So
that's a good number too. I think he's down to plus 160 on a lot of the books that I've seen today. So that's good. All right, Luke, take us through the next one. Our highest one we have so far. Well, you already gave the plus 2,800. So you're just showing off already, Luke. It's like, I feel good. Just showing off for the people. All right, what do you got next?
Don't feel great about this one, but I still think it has viability. I'm going to go Masvidal by knockout at plus 700. Obviously, probably the most likely outcome. Burns takes him down, grinds, maybe does that type of thing. But it's like on the feet, Gilbert Burns is not minus 450 in this fight. He's just not. Masvidal hits like a fucking truck. We've seen Burns hurt multiple times. We've seen him knocked out multiple times. I think Masvidal is honestly a better striker than Burns. A big part of it though is kind of just like narrative around Masvidal because he's talking about retirement. He's opening up taco shops and he's got his game bred boxing gimmick going on. So it's like, there's a chance that he really just doesn't give a shit and he's showing up for a paycheck. But my point is like at the number plus 700 by knockout. these boys are going to swing when the fight is on the feet, and I think he can hurt Burns. I think it's in play. So Masvidal KO plus 700.
All right. I mean, I don't know if you had to target the Burns side with a viable prop. So I think if you're going to get something big plus odds in that fight, that's probably the way to go. Brady, how do you feel about that one? Or you want to move on to your next prop?
Yeah, I want to move on. I was like maybe thinking about the over, but it's not something I'm extremely crazy about, and it's crappy odds on a show like this. We need something better than that. So let's move on to something better. I'm gonna go to the Adrian Yanez Rob Font fight. Man, this is one of the toughest fights to call on the card for me. I feel like I should really be on Rob Font here. The problem is the durability scares me a little bit. The guy still has never been knocked out. But I could see a situation where Rob Font is landing a lot more than Adrian Yanez. I think Rob Font clearly is going to win this first round, but I could also see a situation where Yanez maybe hurts Rob Font throughout the fight, wobbles him, maybe drops him. And I think this fight does go the distance. Like I said, Yanez next level tough, Rob Font never been knocked out. And I could see these scorecards getting a little crazy with the minute winning of Rob Font and the moment winning of Adrian Yanez. So I like the split here at plus 550, and then I like Font by split plus 1100. I think this has a solid chance of going the distance, unless Yanez is the first one to knock out Rob Font. But I'm not completely ready to say that Rob Font's chin is completely dust. I mean, he's fighting Jose Aldo and Marlon Vera. This is a big step down in competition. So I like the split props here, and I think there's pretty solid odds on those as well.
Well, that's why I write down more than 4 props, because I have the exact same prop for this card.
Nice.
And for the exact same reasons. Luke, I don't know what side you are on for this, but do you think Yanez has decision equity here at all? Or do you think if it's decision, it's probably Font?
Man, this is a tough fight. Like, I kind of wrote it in my breakdowns. Like, if this was like last year, I would have a bet on Rob Font. Because I love my minutes. I love my minute winners. And that's it is kind of like a minutes versus moments fight. But I mean, even Giannis chucks a ton of volume too. And I don't know, man. I think Rob Font's going to get hurt in this fight. And I think Giannis is capable of being the first guy to knock out Font. But I completely understand, the Font takes. I think that's actually a decent look on your guys' part too. Like I said, minutes versus moments. If the fight does go a full 15, let's say Font's outlanding him, 3.5, 4 minutes around, but then he gets wobbled. You get, dissenting opinions like that around. So not a bad look from you boys.
All right. Well, it's my turn now. Since Brady and I had the exact same one, I got to have a replacement one. I don't love this one. I would like a little bit of a better price, but I feel like I just broke down a fight with Miguel Torres and Trey Ogden, and I said that Ogden gets hurt and he tends to rush in and give up his neck and get himself in a bad spot. So instead of replaying the entire breakdown, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to pick the new fighter. I'm going to say Bahamondes sub plus 700. I know he's coming off a sub, and he's not a big submission guy either. But guess what, Brady? Neither was Nate Landwehr, and he brought home the bag for the boys. So it doesn't matter if you are not a big sub guy historically. If the path is there, I will look for. Goddamn, Luke got me sick, and he's 3,000 miles away. I don't know how this is possible. I could see Ogden once again getting hurt, this time from kicks. I think Bahamondes can keep him at range with the kicks better than Torres. Torres would have just gone right in the pocket, and they would have been fighting in a phone booth. I think Bahamondes can hurt him bad, and Ogden's going to shoot from even farther away than he would have against Torres. I think he's going to leave his neck. I think Bahamondes can just cinch in a front choke and get him out of there. So I would have liked a better price than plus 700, but I do think it's a viable way. And if we're playing the whole Ogden's never been knocked out thing, well, then this plays right into the submission. But
yeah, that was my favorite spot, Lou, of the show.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I went a little bit different though. I was like, I got on FanDuel Sportsbook, they have the round 2 sub plus 2,400, and then the round 3 sub plus 3,800. And yeah, like you said, I could see Ogden getting hurt on the feet, shooting in. I don't think Ogden's going to stand at range for 15 minutes. I think if that happens, Bahamondes is clearly going to win. But yeah, I think Ogden's going to have to try to grapple. And if he does, Bahamondes has been working on that ground game. We saw it against Rongzhu. I know Rongzhu had pink hair and all that, but still, I think he could potentially get that sub. And at these numbers, I mean, they're crazy. And yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Nate Landwehr fight where Landwehr only had one sub. Mona's only had one sub. Let's make it 2 here on Saturday.
Luke, do you want to pick like round 4 sub to just round this out, or like what do you want to do?
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad shot, man. He's a really big guy at 155. He's got those really long, lanky arms, which always helps you with front chokes. So yeah, I think it's a decent stab. Once again, I don't know how great his grappling is, but it does look like it's gotten better, even on bottom, like he's using elevators and stuff better. So yeah, I don't think it's a bad look. I think he can knock Ogden out, to be honest, though.
All right. Yeah. I mean, the whole like narrative has never been knocked out. I mean, who's he fighting? That's like, I don't know. I think
Jordan Levitt.
Right. I mean, Levitt with the Orange Cassidy like kicks. All right. Well, now I got 3. I got Luke. It's your turn since Brady and I are like stealing each other's props here.
All right. So my last one, I'm going the Karate Hottie by split at plus 800. This is a 50-50 fight, in my opinion. I think Pinheiro is probably going to have a strong start. She might hit some throws, do that type of deal. But Waterson's tough, and Waterson can wrestle herself. And we don't know much about Pinheiro on bottom, but she is a black belt in judo and jiu-jitsu. So I would assume grappling wise, she's probably competent, but there's a chance she could sit there and just like fish shit, from bottom or whatever in a round, and Michelle Waterson could win a round that way. I think the stand-up is probably pretty competitive, assuming Pinheiro isn't able to hurt Waterson, but Waterson's pretty difficult to hurt. Pinheiro also doesn't throw much, actually, like volume and distance exchanges. So I think it's going to be like Pinheiro 1, Waterson 3, then you get a tight second. And yeah, I think the fight's got some split merit. I think it's like plus 350 as a whole in terms of the fight by split. But I'm gonna go with Waterson to squeak the vet lesson here.
All right, Waterson split decision. Well, you guys have 4 each, and I have 3. And since you brought up that fight, I'm gonna take it a step further from you, Luke. I'm gonna play the draw in the Waterson Pinheiro fight, and I can see this happening one of 2 ways. Pinheiro's gonna come out like a house of fire. I could see her winning the first round 10-8, coming out with, just threatening submissions left and right. Cardio dies. Waterson takes over the second and third. We get nice 28-28 split decision. The flip side of this is, and this is where it gets a little dicey, but I still think it's got equity. If Pinheiro does win the first 2 rounds, if her cardio holds up for like 7-8 minutes, she wins minutes on the ground, gets the first 2. You'd need Waterson to get a 10-8 in that spot, which I don't love. She's not the kind of fighter who is known to go for it. I don't. Does she have any 10-8 rounds in her history? I don't think so. But I could also see Pinheiro is such a reckless fighter with her gas tank that I could see a cage grab here. I could see a point deduction in this fight. No, it is not the one that I'm going to pick officially, but that seems to be in play here. Whenever I see a gas bag, especially against somebody who I know's cardio is good like Waterson's, you see weird things. We get the Paulo Costa obligatory, the eye poke just to get like a few minutes of breath. So I think a point deduction's live here too, especially as the fight goes later on. And I see a couple of ways this fight could be a draw. So at plus 6,600 odds on FanDuel, give me the Waterson Pinheiro draw. And that is all I have. Brady, it is up to you. What is your next prop you have? I am now out of props since you took my other one.
Nothing. We covered them all.
Okay, Luke?
Yeah, that's all I had too.
Then we will get to the main event because that is the last fight on the card. We haven't talked about that one yet. However you want to address this, if you want to give a prop, a method, whatever, you don't have to give a big breakdown. Brady, what's the fighter and method you see this fight ending with that you think is the best value?
Yeah, first off, like Aaron in the chat saying, they have these new gloves. And what are your thoughts on these new gloves as a guy that loves to bet yam bags? Are you a big fan of them or no?
Well, it's called the yam bag special, so as long as they're not putting these gloves on the feet, I don't give a shit. Like
Fair enough. Fair enough. For me, I always when I'm attacking a Yambags, I like to attack.
Oh, we're doing the main event. We're doing the main event first, not
Oh,
Yambags.
oh, I thought you meant the main event, like
Calm
as in
down,
the
Brady.
Yambag.
Calm down.
The main event is the Yambags, right?
I need your main event prop, and then we'll get to Yambags.
Oh,
This was
prop.
all in the memo. This was all in the memo I sent you guys earlier in the week.
I know, but main event, I thought you talked about. Okay, give me Alex Pereira. It's not juicy, man. But Alex
It
Pereira.
doesn't have to be juicy. It doesn't
Okay.
have to be juicy.
All right, Alex Pereira by knockout plus 250.
Okay, so that's pretty juicy for main event.
Short and sweet.
Luke.
Izzy decision plus 180.
Wow. Well, I don't like agreeing with Brady this much, but yeah, I mean, he's beaten him 3 times. I don't even want to break the fight down. I've already done it a couple times this week.
Yeah.
He's beaten him 3 times. He's also a terrifying human being, Potan. So I will stick with him to get the KO here. All right, Brady. You want to talk about Yambags? It's your turn. Go ahead. What fight do we have? If you pick the same one as me, I quit. You're just going to run the show next week. Go ahead. What do you got? Why? Why?
Yeah, I'm not picking the same one as you. I don't think. But yeah, like I was saying, when I'm searching for Yambags, I like to attack the most hilarious fight on the card, and I think it's pretty clear which one that is. The most hilarious fight on the card is Carl Williams versus Chase Sherman. I think there's a lot of what does Mike say? That
ballyhoo?
There's a lot of ballyhoo I feel like can go on in this fight. And I think that ballyhoo could lead to some Yambags. So plus 2,000, I feel like that should be around plus 500 in this one. So lots of value there.
Yeah, definitely seems like a fight with ballyhoo. All right, Luke. I'm waiting to hear what it is and why. Because I love when people make their debuts, like when Lucrative did, and he's like, you could tell he's like, man, I don't really want to break this down. And then a minute into it, he's like, but and then like science started happening. So Luke, hit me with the science, my brother.
I hate to parrot Brady, but I'm going with the same thing. I'm going Sherman. I'm going Sherman and Williams. I think the primary Yambag merit is cage grabs from Sherman. He's going to be tired. Williams is going to mat return, wrestle in volume. He just might, get picked up, tossed around 3 times, and Sherman's like flailing all around and he doesn't know what to do. I think there's a cage grab merit. If the fight does extend, once again, it gets sloppy. Both guys are tired. You get the eye poke breaks, whatever. Both guys want a little bit of a breather for a couple of minutes. You get Sherman starting to paw at him. Also, when Sherman gets tired, he starts throwing these like very lazy teep kicks up the middle. So you might get a little bean dip down there, halfway through the fight too. So yeah, it's sloppy. It's a lower level fight. Both guys are not cardio machines. I think there's definite merit for impropriety here, to quote my guy, Mike's MMA picks as well.
All right. Well, I mean, 2 people on the panel. I don't know if I should even give my pick away. Of course I will. I'm going to go with Chris Curtis and Kelvin Gastelum. To Luke's point, the cage. I do think Gastelum's going to get takedowns here. I broke it down earlier why. I know Curtis's takedown defense has historically been very good in the UFC level. I think Gastelum presents a little different challenge in the way he can mix them in, as opposed to Adolfo Vieira shooting from 15 feet away when he's gassed, and it counts as a takedown, as a stop. The lefty versus righty. Wheezy and I, the deans of the Yambag Institute, would tell you that southpaw versus orthodox opens up the stances, definitely leaves the ball regions open for shots. I also just kind of don't like Chris Curtis at all. And I don't like some of these annex. I didn't like the whole giving everybody the finger. I didn't like how frustrated he got in that Hermanson fight. It seems like you can completely frustrate him. And I think Gastelum's style is going to frustrate Chris Curtis a lot. Gastelum's going to be happy just to throw tons of volume and keep Curtis backing away as this fight goes on. I like his cardio. Will this fight happen? That's a whole different bet. We don't know with Gastelum anymore. These fights have been, it's always something with this. People like that. It's always something. I know a person like that, where something's always something. But yeah, I think this happens with lefty righty. So not a lot of confidence. I do like. Look, Chase Sherman and Yambags is just easy, too easy for me to pick. People expect better from me. They expect a deep dive. But that is going to do it. 30 minutes is perfect. What a perfectly timed short show with two experts on the panel. I want to thank my guests, Brady, DFS by the numbers, Luke, sparring with reality betting. Luke, I will start with you. Tell the people all the plugs that you are supposed to do on every one of these internet shows.
Yeah, you guys can check me out on Twitter, SWR_betting. That's primarily where I'm on. Probably need to get back on my IG game a little bit more. But yeah, you guys can find me over at dailyfanmma.com or my vanity URL, sparringwithreality.com. I put out full card breakdowns for every single UFC card, a prop article, a parlay article, and a video and audio podcast. Currently have a couple bets up for the card. I'm actually going to be heading down to the casino after this podcast, and I'm going to be putting in quite a few more and a couple for PFL coming up as well. So yeah, if you guys are looking for someone to tail some additional content, yeah, be sure to check me out over there.
You're going to play Spanish 21 while you're at the casino, as you call it?
Maybe.
It's good. It's a good game. Brady, tell people where they can find you.
Yep, Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I'll be going live tomorrow, probably around 4 Eastern on my channel, DFS by the numbers, and then Saturday for Best Bet. Still don't know who the panel is going to be, but there will be a panel on Saturday.
I don't know who the panel is going to be, but I know who's in first place.
Yep, that is true.
That's one thing that
for
I
now
know.
until I hit a Bob Mendez round 2 sub.
I know I'm going to lose my lead. I'm going to lose my lead week 10 to Pat. He's going to hit some nonsense.
Oh.
Lou Betya on Twitter. All my shows are on here except for the ones I do scattered throughout the week. Aaron the dog, I work with him. Did Pat show last night with Couch Warrior. I just want to announce I am recording at 10 o'clock tonight. I'm recording a new show with Gordo. I still have no name for it. We'll call it working title, Generational Wealth. I don't know. But all we're going to be talking about is ways to configure some same game parlays for this UFC 287 card. We don't have all the props for some of them. We're going to do our best, and I will release that tomorrow morning since way too much content tonight. It'll just get lost in the shuffle. Thank you guys again. Thank you guys in chat. Please hit the like video. Please go follow all the stuff that these two geniuses do. And I will see you next week for props to consider when my guests are Johnny K. Picks and making his return to the channel, Couch Warrior. See you guys next week. Take care.